Hi everyone, welcome to this Facebook Live event, Prepare to Study and Live in the UK. We're all aware of the impact COVID-19 is having around the world, and UK universities have been adapting so they can support students during the crisis and still deliver the world-class teaching that the UK is known for. They're now preparing to welcome new students in autumn 2020, and almost all will be delivering some in-person teaching this autumn term. Some will blend face-to-face learning with online technology and tools to ensure teaching is delivered in a safe environment. Whatever the study experience will look like in 2020, your well-being comes first, and you're still guaranteed to get a world-class education in the UK that will help you take your first steps into employment after graduating. The new graduate route will mean that from summer 2021, international students who have completed an undergraduate or master's degree can stay in the UK for 2 years after graduating. PhD students will be able to stay for up to 3 years. This is a fantastic opportunity for international students, and we'll be hearing more about this from Harry a little later on in the programme. But today, I'm excited to have some other guests joining us. We'll have 4 guests joining us today. Sim, an international officer at the University of Kent, will talk through changes to study in 2020 and support for international students in the UK. Hi, Sim. Okay. And I'm also joined by Nebu, who's a PhD student studying archaeology at Bangor University. And Nebu will be offering his experiences of studying in the UK. Later on, we'll be joined by Harry, based out of the British High Commission in New Delhi, who will talk through Tier 4 visas and the new graduate route, and Brian from the University of Reading, who will be here to answer all your questions about the Study UK free online course, Prepare to Study and Live in the UK. Brian's the lead educator on the course, and he'll be here a bit later on to tell you more about how the course works and, of course, to answer any questions that you want. So let's get started. Sim and Nebu, hi.
Hi.
How are you both feeling today?
Nervous, let's say nervous, but excited at the same time.
Yeah, there's nothing to worry about here. I think we'll hopefully have lots of questions coming in. For anyone who's watching, who's planning to study in the UK, interested in studying in the UK, post your questions and we'll try to answer them a bit later on. But just to start with, we have lots of questions to get through. So let's begin with the first question. And let's begin with Nebu. Can you tell me something, why did you choose to study in the UK?
Well, I'm doing a PhD in geochemical archaeology at Bangor University. And archaeology was always my primary interest. So knowing about archaeology and the British standards in archaeology, UK wasn't a difficult choice for me. And then British standard in education is well known, and also knowing the fact that there's a wealth of archaeological studies and sites in UK, it was an obvious choice to come to UK for me.
Okay, and what do you like about the university system in the UK? Are there any features about it particularly that attracted you?
Definitely. I came here in 2013 as an undergraduate student, and then I went on to my master's, and now I'm doing a PhD. So obviously there is something that I really like about the UK system. One of the things that I found was really good was that over here, based on compared to my experience in India, it was that here you are made to learn how to understand stuff, and your assessment is based on your understanding of it rather than how much you remember of a topic or a concept. And even something, you are always made to challenge that, and through challenging it, you get to understand it better. The other something really good about UK system is the staff. Staff are always proactive in supporting you in whatever way possible. And this can be something, even if, let's say, during your course of study, you have an interest in one particular topic or something. If you are proactive, your lecturers, your professors will do whatever they can to support you and to support you in the future. And that's how I ended up staying on for a master's and a PhD at Bangor University, my same university where I started.
Okay, great. Let's move over to Sim now. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning, as I was doing the introduction, about how some universities will be offering blended classes and so on within that. I mean, what does blended learning mean, and what's your experience of it?
Firstly, blended learning can mean a number of things. The first thing we say as blended learning is for students who are starting their course in September and their course is taught in the UK but are unable to make it due to maybe some flights still not being open yet, they could study the first trimester, for example, fully online and then join us later in the year on campus. Secondly, it could also mean that part of the course is done online. For example, lectures may be online in order to avoid overcrowding lecture theatres, and we would use those lecture theatres for seminar activities in order to ensure social distancing. Lab classes and other activities where students physically need to be there will obviously still take place, but in strict compliance with health and safety measures. Also, some modules or parts of modules may need to be rescheduled later in the year or done completely online. So shortly, what we're saying is that blended learning means a combination of online and offline teaching on campus.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I'm just looking down the list of people who are joining, and we have people watching us from Pakistan, from India, from Indonesia, from Bangladesh, Madagascar, Nigeria, the Philippines. So quite a quite a global audience there joining us already.
That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm. So anyone who is watching, and if you have any questions to ask about anything that you hear, and anything that Sim or Nebu say, or anything about your own position, post them in the comments, and we'll try to answer them during the next half hour or so. Okay. So talking about this, moving on, Nebu.
Yeah.
How has your PhD been affected in recent months? I mean, I'm sure there must be some impact on this, of course.
Yeah, there certainly was. I mean, as we went into lockdown, because we were all going into unknown territory, one of the things that was affected was I lost access to my lab, office, and quite a few of the equipments, which obviously meant some of my work has been delayed. So early on, me and my PhD supervisor sat down for a meeting through on an online meeting and decided what we could do in the potential 1 or 2 months, because we didn't know how long it would be. And we came up with things like reassessing old data, writing up what I could do, and obviously everything might not have gone up to plan, and university was more than happy to accept that, and they were proactive in the sense like to support in alternative ways as possible. For example, there were quite a few data analysis that I had to do, and a couple of programming languages that I had to learn. The university's doctoral school ran online courses for Python and R, and that's something that I learned during this lockdown. And in terms of having lost some amount of time, the university has already extended preemptively most of students their research. So even though there has been quite some effects, I wouldn't say it is as much as I thought it would be. And in terms of my online contact hours with my supervisor, if anything, it has gone up than it was before, because being online, I can contact my supervisor as and when needed and in a much higher frequency than before, when it used to be just face-to-face meetings. So it has, it's been good actually, but at the same time, there have been certain drawbacks as well.
Well, I mean, I think that leads me to a question for both of you, I guess, because it follows on from what you were just saying there, Nebu. I mean, how have you found the transition to online learning? I mean, how has it affected you both, and how have you had to adapt, and what have you mentioned that things have been better in some ways as a result of this. Sim, how about for your experience in this?
I mean, obviously, it was challenging at the beginning, but once we got to grips with it, and I think in a couple of weeks, we did, everything started working rather smoothly. And as Nebu said, everything being online and everyone having a laptop with a webcam or a phone, the availability and the ease of access it's like being on campus sometimes. It's not that big of a difference. Obviously, the biggest drawback being the actual university experience.
Well, we're going to come to a question in a moment, but I just wondered if Nebu had anything you wanted to add there first.
It's same as I said before. It's certain things might have gone down, but something else I've picked up. For example, now I picked up on so many online skills which I never knew, and I can use it for so much. Because one of the things I could do was attend online conferences, which I never thought would be possible. For example, conferences that are quite far away, which might have even been out of my PhD journey just because it was that far away and inaccessible. I was able to attend quite a few conferences like that. So there have been quite a few advantages and quite a few things that I've gained during this period as well.
Okay, that brings me to the other question on this topic, which relates to something that Sim was just talking about there. You know, we've mentioned the positives and the negatives and how some things have improved, some things may have suffered. What about social opportunities? I mean, social opportunities are, of course, an important part of the student experience. Will universities offer social opportunities to students in the autumn? Sim,
I know. That is a difficult question. Firstly, because we don't know how COVID will progress. Everything's looking fine now, but it can change in a couple of weeks. But judging by the current situation, there, of course, will be social opportunities for students, but obviously with certain social distancing measures in place. Personally, I wouldn't say that students would expect the same type of Freshers Week or university experience as in the past, but we will do our best to minimize the social distancing measures, what impact they have on the student experience. Obviously, there will be difficulty with, for example, libraries or cinemas sometimes, large groups of friends being able to gather, especially in the first trimester or semester when they just join. But they will still get the chance to enjoy student life as much as possible following guidelines. We will all basically try and ensure safety before anything else. I think that is the most important part.
Yeah, so I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, obviously, the students' well-being is the university's top priority in this. So, can we talk about some of the ways that universities will ensure that students feel safe, supported, and secure as they learn?
Of course. So, firstly, all through the summer, we are for students who will be joining us in September, from social distancing measures to ensuring appropriate number of students in a class, to not overcrowded. Secondly, making sure we have enough hand gel stations, for example, and everything, so they wouldn't have to buy them or anything like that. And at the same time, ensuring we always communicate with all our applicants, so they know exactly what to expect and what to bring over and how they should behave within the university campus, because it's a two-way relationship. We can do as much as the students do as well, but we are trying our best to communicate what measures are in place and what needs to be done in order for everyone to stay safe and happy.
Okay, great. And just one more question for Nebru here. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about your university and how your university has supported students during COVID-19?
The university has supported in quite a few different ways, especially international students. So one of the first things the university did was all students who were in halls and before lockdown was initiated and moved away left the country, or moved, even for home students who went back home, they released them from their accommodation contracts and they also said that they can leave all their belongings which they've left already in the room. They can leave it there till September, and they don't have to pay anything in rent till September. And other ways was international students who were affected with certain kinds of financial hardship. There was a hardship fund available for them to access in the difficult times. And another way was there was quite a few mental health well-being online sessions that was organized, with which we just have a chat. During the lockdown period, we just to have that interaction with other people. And the other thing was the changing immigration environment, as in what's the new advice. So the international office had a weekly online session set up as well, where you could just join in and ask questions, and they would give you all the information as in what's the latest advice, where you can go, where you can't go, what's the advice on quarantine, and so many other questions. So the university did do many things in this short period of time and came up with many things in such a short time to support students.
Great, that's really impressive. We have lots of live questions coming in already, so I'm going to take some live questions if you're ready for those. Let's begin with this one from Jesha Edre Perez. If the 14-day quarantine remains, does that mean that we need to arrive 2 weeks before the official start of classes?
May I?
You're going to answer that?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's mandatory you arrive 2 weeks before the official start of classes, because that's only a couple of months away, and international travel links haven't been set yet. What I would expect, so for example, what we're doing is we will have a special accommodation block, which will be used for students who are required by law to go into quarantine. So that will be free of charge for the 2 weeks while you are there, and then you will just move into your normal accommodation, obviously after we are sure everything is safe.
Okay. I should add that, for anyone who's asking questions, if we don't deal with the questions just now, then we'll be sharing links to information and for all the other details that you need within this. We have a kind of related question here from Imran Kaur. If we arrive 2 weeks before the course start date for quarantine purposes, how will we have time to set up the essential things we need, such as bank accounts and phone plans? Will we be allowed to go out and do that? So maybe just a few words about some of these practical considerations.
That's a difficult one. So firstly, I think it's worth mentioning that our campus will go completely cashless, and I would expect many campuses to do the same. Bank accounts will take quite some time to be set up, and I can't imagine it is likely you will necessarily go out very often. Ideally, we will put in place instructions, for example, even online grocery shopping and everything, to ensure that you can you are in a safe space and everything can be done without using public transport or going outside. One of the recommendations we are saying is make sure you bring a Visa or a MasterCard with you, which you can use on a daily basis, because even if you open a bank account the first thing, it will take a while until your card arrives. But these days, with so many apps and everything, should be quite straightforward.
Okay, great. Well, I think hold on just 1 second. Bear with me for a moment. Okay. So we've run out of time for this section. So basically, thank you very much for all of your information there. I'm sure that the people watching have found it really useful. And as I say, we'll answer any other questions in the comments and share any other resources. Before we finish up, would any final words that you would like to say to people watching? Nebu.
I'd say, when you come in September, there's so many opportunities that's going to be. If you have any issues, always contact your international office. Any question that may be, even if they might not know the answer, they will definitely guide you to the right place. There's always people here to support you.
Great. Okay. And Sim, final words?
I would echo what Nebu said. Just get in touch with the university if you have any question or worries, and there's plenty of people who will do their best to help you.
Okay, thanks a lot. It's been great having you here, and your answers have been really useful. I hope we'll see you again at some future event like this.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to take a short break now, and then we'll be joined in a moment by Harry, who will be answering questions about visas and the graduate route. So we'll just take a short 30-second break or so while we change over guests. Okay, so we'll be back soon. Don't go away. Hi, Harry.
Hi.
Welcome to our broadcast here.
Thank you.
We've just changed over. Would you like to introduce yourself to begin with and tell us a little bit about where you are and what you do and what you'll be talking about today?
Sure. So my name's Harry. I work for the British High Commission in New Delhi in India, where I've lived for 3 years. But I work on issues relating to visas and immigration, in particular student visas. I have had some good experience in working in South Asia, but of course we're interested in students from across the world choosing the UK to study this year. And we're aware of the coronavirus impacts on everything at the moment, and we've got quite a few policies in place to help with that, and I'll be talking about that now.
Okay, great. We have some live questions coming in already that you can answer, but let's begin with a few of the questions that we know are important ones. So let's begin first of all with this. Okay. So how has the UK government flexed its Tier 4 visa policies for students planning on studying in the UK in 2020?
Okay, so quite a lot in this area because a lot has been needed. Initially, I would say people who are there already have had their visas extended for free by contacting the coronavirus immigration team. That currently goes on till 31st of July, and we're looking to extend that or decide what the policy will be after. And we'll update on that soon. For students who are coming as new students from September, we will allow them to only apply for their Tier 4 visa when they need to come. So if you start online with a university, you will study online in your home country and only apply for the Tier 4 visa when you actually come to the UK, rather than when you start your studies, meaning you don't need to get your visa in time for your course to start. You have the flexibility. Secondly, the graduate immigration route is guaranteed to come in next year. And importantly, if you're in the UK with a valid Tier 4 visa by the 6th of April 2021, you will be able to apply for it. I can talk more about the graduate route in a second, but again, if you're worried that if you're not in the UK by a certain date, you won't be able to apply for the graduate route, if there's a few weeks delay or any delay up till 6th of April next year, you will still be able to apply. So that's a big concession, I think, as well. So good news for many students.
Okay. Speaking of timing, one question that we have here is, will we be able to get a visa in time to study in September?
Sure, I understand that question. Is really important. So in an increasing number of countries, we are now open in terms of our visa application centres. Many across Asia and Africa have started to open this week and last week. And for countries which are currently not open, we are looking to open them as soon as possible. So there will be a good amount of time between needing to apply for your visa and needing to travel to the UK, whether that happens in September or a later date. It will still be working on a 15 working day standard, which is the same as previous years. That means about 3 weeks from the time you apply to the time you get a decision on your visa. So you should still look to apply at least a month before you mean to travel.
Okay. Bear with me just for a moment.
Sure.
Technical problem. Okay. We're getting quite a few questions coming in about English language and testing and being able to demonstrate proficiency and so on as a result of some of the issues around centres being closed and so on. So one question here is, I beg your pardon. So as many language testing centres are closed due to COVID-19, how can students demonstrate English language abilities? So if you could say a few words about that.
Sure. So firstly, like our visa application centres, which are run by either VFS or TLS, depending on where you are in the world, the separate providers of English language centres are also looking to open these up as soon as they can, do so safely. But in general, there are 2 policy points. The first is that, of course, UK visas and immigration expect a student to demonstrate that they can speak enough English to do a course. That's just necessary. But we do allow some flexibility for universities to set how they test this. So the entire range of English language testing facilities is being worked on opening again for this summer intake. But you should speak to a university about how that particular university is approaching English language testing. Our policy allows for some flexibility there. So speak to the university for the guidance specifically for that course is what any student can do.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's move on because we have lots of things to get through. I want to come to some live questions in a moment, but before we do that, you mentioned the graduate route earlier, and you know, some viewers may not be familiar with the details of this. So perhaps you'd like to give an overview of what the graduate route is and some details just now.
Cool. So the graduate immigration route, GIR, what many people overseas call post-study work visa, is a 2-year single leave to remain. So you get 2 years to stay in the UK after your course. It'll come in next summer. We're not going to give an exact date today, but it will be for anyone who completes a course at the end of the academic year that's starting in September. And you need a Tier 4 valid visa to apply for it in the UK. There's no requirement for sponsorship. You don't need a job offer. There's no minimum salary. You just need to apply for it at the end of your course whilst you're in the UK on a Tier 4 valid visa. After staying on the graduate immigration route, you can look to move to a different route, for example, Tier 2 or entrepreneur or startup visa, sorry. But for everyone who completes a Tier 4 course, this is a sort of 2-year additional leave to remain beyond their course. So if they want to work, look for work, gain experience in the UK through volunteering, for example, all of this will be possible under the graduate route. And that's a big change from where we've been in the last few years, where this period has been 4 to 6 months. So it's a big increase. Many students will find that really useful, and I'm pleased that it's coming in for next year.
Okay, we have a question here saying, will students who are already studying in the UK be able to benefit? What's the situation?
Potentially, if they have a valid Tier 4 visa when it's introduced, which will be next summer after the coming academic year. Okay. I know there's always questions on if it's this date or that date. We can't say that yet, but it has to be next summer at the end of this academic year that's starting in September.
Okay. And we've been talking a lot about, obviously, the impact of COVID-19 and online learning and blended learning and so on. And one question is, for students who begin their studies through purely online learning, will they be eligible for the graduate route?
If they never come to the UK, it would be unlikely that they would be eligible for the graduate route. As I said, you need to have a Tier 4 visa from the UK. You can only apply for the graduate route from the UK. So if you're overseas, that might not be possible. But as I say, if you're in the UK by 6th of April 2021, you'd be able to apply. So for example, if you do a master's course, that's 1 year long, you start in September, you only travel to the UK in April, and you finish your course in July, for example, you would still be able to apply for the graduate route in July, as long as you're there by the 6th of April. So there is additional flexibility in the route, but we do still expect the student to be in the UK by the final semester of their course.
Okay, I think that will clear that up for a lot of people. Okay, I think we'll move on to a couple of live questions in a moment. I just have one more question here for you, which is about whether it's automatic or not. So will my Tier 4 visa be automatically extended when I graduate?
No, not automatic. So what happens, you get the Tier 4 visa for the duration of your course, plus 4 or 6 months, depending on which university you're at currently. So say, again, you've got a 12-month course, you'll get a visa for 12 plus 4 months, 16 months total. During that final period of the course, you apply in the UK for a new graduate route visa. There is a fee, and there is an immigration health surcharge attached to that application. And then you are, if you're successful, as we hope you are, you will get the additional visa in your passport. They're 2 separate visas, not one Tier 4 visa. Tier 4 visa followed by an in-country application for a graduate immigration route, leave to remain, as we call it.
Okay. We have People joining us from all over the world, from many countries, and questions coming in thick and fast. So I'm just waiting to see. Have you seen any questions coming in that you've felt that would be good for you to answer?
Sure. So a couple on the border that I want to be clear on. So currently the UK is operating some what we call border health measures. That means that you have to fill out a form to provide contact and location details in case you or someone else on your plane, for example, becomes ill. It's a way to find you and make sure you're given the proper care. And then you'd be expected to self-isolate regardless of whether you're unwell or not. This is not for every country. Some countries do not require self-isolation, but for many countries such as India and Pakistan, where I'm currently living, this is required. How that quarantine will work is up to the university. As has been said, some will have dedicated buildings for this. But what I would say definitely is that the border is not closed, and we're not planning to close the border. There may be health measures to quarantine or self-isolate you when you come in for your own health and for the health of others, but that's not a closure of the border. That's a thing that happens after you come in. So you shouldn't expect that the border might close soon. It's not been part of the UK's plan. So students can go with that confidence in mind that that's not a high risk to their ability to travel to the UK. You just may have to expect to stay in your accommodation for 2 weeks when you get there.
Okay. We have a live question here from another one from Imran Kaur. I've already applied for my Tier 4, but not sure if I can arrive in time to collect BRP within the 10-day window. Any advice on this?
If you can't travel because of the coronavirus restrictions, you won't be penalised for being unable to pick up your biometric residence permit. What you need to do is contact the coronavirus immigration team and flag that you cannot pick it up in time, and this can be marked, and we can follow that up in writing in the comments about where that should go.
Okay, I should mention because we have so many questions coming in and a lot of them are quite detailed about various specifics about that. We will share the contents and share links to all the relevant information in the comments after we finish this particular conversation. Another one here from Mona Love. When do you recommend students to apply for Tier 4 for a January 11th, 2021 start date?
As soon as you can. You have to. You can apply 3 months in advance. As I say, currently we are looking to deliver all our cases within our standard 15 working day timeframe, which is 3 weeks, not including weekends. Of course, January would include some Christmas days off as well, so you have to build that in. But I can't tell you exactly when to apply or how to apply. I can just give general advice. But it makes sense to do it at least a month in advance, in my opinion, just in case there's a delay here and there. You don't want to leave it right till the last moment. So a month or more would be sensible.
I guess that's always good advice in all these situations. Yeah. Okay, Abhiram Ravi Kumar. I'll be graduating in January 22. Am I eligible for graduate route?
Yes, if you'd be eligible to apply for the graduate route, yes. From summer 2021, I can't say a date, as I say, but at the end of this academic year, which starts in September, that's who will be eligible to apply. So if you're in 2022, that's well within the eligibility dates for the route. Yes, you'd be able to apply.
Okay. This question from Maharwan Singh. Recently, there was some news about plus 4 years of stay back on PSW versus now 2 years. Any further info?
Sure. So I'm aware of those news reports. All I would say is that discussion about 4 years was not a UK government discussion. It was a sort of private sector thing. And the UK government is committed to its 2-year post-study offer, the graduate route, which is guaranteed to come in next year. We think that's really generous. As I say, it's 4 times longer than the current post-study work offer. And that's, I think, a really generous offer. And that's what we're focused on delivering by next summer, rather than this discussion that's referenced in the question.
Okay, great. We're running out of time now, and we have to move on to our next guest. So basically, would you like to just sum up some of the main points, some of the key things that you think people should be aware of, and any other points that you'd like to make before we finish?
Sure. So I'd say we understand in the in UK visas and immigration and the wider British government that people are facing challenges because of the coronavirus pandemic. We're committed that we will ensure that people who face challenges due to that pandemic are not disadvantaged in terms of their immigration status. And that's why we've introduced things like you can apply online and apply for your visa later when you travel to the UK. And also, as long as you're in the UK by 6th of April 2021, you'll be able to apply for the graduate route of 2 years, which will guaranteed come in next summer. So there are, in addition to the policies we've already announced, like graduate route, there is some flexibility in the system. So the main thing I'd say is speak to universities, get their guidance, commit to study to the UK, and then we'll be working with the universities to make sure that that is the visa system is, if you want to apply for September, it's safe and secure. If you want to delay or you need to delay for coronavirus reasons, you have that flexibility. And regardless of when you get to the UK, as long as you're there by 6th of April next year, you will be able to apply for the graduate route and stay back for up to 2 years more potentially. So you should have that confidence that that is there. And best of luck with getting along with your courses. We'll continue working on channels like this to support.
Okay, fantastic. I think that's lots of really helpful information there. And of course, as I mentioned, we'll share further details for people to read and visit the necessary websites for this. Okay, thanks a lot. I guess it's evening for you there?
Yeah, just past 7 o'clock.
Just past 7 o'clock. So I'll let you get away. Perhaps it must be coming up for dinner time if you haven't had it already. Okay, thanks a lot. I hope to see you again sometime. Okay?
Yeah, likewise.
Okay, very quick changeover there. I hope everyone is still here. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
Brian is the lead educator on our upcoming Prepare to Study and Live in the UK online course. So I'm going to pass over to you because you're the expert in this, to tell us about the course. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about the course. Who is it for? How does it work? Etc. Etc. Okay.
Okay. Well, as you said, my name's Brian. I'm the lead educator on the course. I work at the University of Reading, which created the course with the British Council. Now, what can I tell you about it? I've got some notes to the side of me here. Now, some of the topics and content I think would be good things to talk about. So you would be learning about active engagement with your studies, which would mean, how to participate most effectively with the courses and the activities within the course. There are some items on critical thinking, thinking for yourself and questioning what you're reading and what you're listening to. You'll also learn about evidence-based arguments. When you make an argument or write in your essay or give a presentation, having evidence for the ideas that you have. There are also items on independent study, i.e. studying on your own, and also very important parts about the academic integrity, which would be avoiding plagiarism and, being honest in your studies. Okay. You will also learn about teaching formats and the different teaching formats that we have in the UK that might be different to what you're used to. And also the educational style might be something you're not quite used to. So in Britain, as you may or may not know, we have lectures, seminars, personal tutorials, presentations, and also group assignments. So there'll be a little overview and lots of items about that. And also the very important issue of time management, how to deal with your timetable, deal with your deadlines, and manage your own time, because that's a big part of independent study as well. Of course, there's some English language skills. We'll take you through the 4 different skills: reading, listening, note taking's in there. speaking will be involved, and also writing. There is an opportunity to upload some writing, an essay, a short essay that you will get some peer evaluation on, and also some feedback from the educators and mentors that are facilitating the course. There is also an area in the course where we give an overview of assessment in the UK, which would include coursework and exams. That could be written exams and also oral exams. Also, there are items, there's a lot here, nearly there though. Also, there are items on the support services. And academically, that means the libraries, the English support, which is one of the things I do, where, you know, where international students can get help with their English, very, very helpful. Mm-hmm. There's also counselling, like welfare issues, but also financial advice you can receive. And we point you in the direction of where they might be in your institutions. There's also some practical advice and guidance where for student life in the UK, i.e. accommodation, making friends, and the kind of things to pack to bring with you before you set off. Mm-hmm. And also there's some advice on what to do when you get here. For example, register with the police, sign up with the bank and the doctor, and some BRP issues there too. Mm-hmm. And also I round off each week with a weekly summary video where I've been looking at all the posts and looking at all the items, and I have a roundup that I give at the end of every week on every Friday. Okay, that's a good roundup, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so as you say, there's a lot there. I mean,
there is a lot. That's why I was looking at the list. So yeah.
And so to join the course, I mean, this course is on the Future Learn platform, yep. And it's completely free.
Absolutely free. Yeah, nothing to pay for at all. I mean, even when at the end, anticipating a further question. There's a certificate at the end. I can give more details later. This is a certificate that is also free. I'll give some more details on that later. So, but there's no charge at all except for your broadband, whoever your internet provider is.
Okay, great. And I mean, as you say, it seems like a packed course with lots of really practical information and yep. really useful stuff that every student needs to know, and maybe sometimes don't know before they turn up.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the design of it. It's like how can we give people a good general picture of the kinds of things they will face here when they come and study in the UK. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So, I mean, with all of that information, I mean, how much time does it take for people to actually do all of this?
I mean, we'd say designate yourself three hours a week. So it's not a great deal of time, but it's time very, very well spent. I mean, you can spend more time on it, but you know, you can do 1 week's work in that 3 hours. I mean, depending on your English level, perhaps it might take a bit longer, might be quicker, but yeah, engaging fully with it, 3 hours is a good minimum.
And I think one of the great things about these courses is that you have students from all over the world, and it's a chance to communicate with each other and engage in conversation and dialogue before you get there. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that works?
I mean, that's a very important part of it because, yeah, there is a bit of a community on there. I mean, most tasks or most steps, as we call them, have comments at the bottom where you can have discussions with other learners, and also the mentors and myself as lead educator, and also an educator from the British Council will be monitoring those steps, those chats, and you know, engaging with those as well. So what we recommend is if you follow the course week by week, so now is week 1, if you engage in those tasks now, that's the time when we educators and mentors are monitoring that, and that's when you'll be most likely to get some comments from us as well. But it's very, very important to build up that community, a sense of community there with other learners, and be polite at all times, of course, and you know, and help each other along with it.
And as well as the current course, I mean, you've done this course before as lead educator as well. So what are some of the most active kind of discussions? What are the things that get people going most in these things?
I'd say any of them, really. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, you do get certain people who post on everything. Mm-hmm. You get other people who post on certain types of things, like maybe someone who's focusing on their writing or someone who's focusing on their speaking. And you do, I mean, as lead educator reading almost everything, you start to see, that's the name I know. And, you know, you can almost, you just see what their interests are from that. But, people are interested in all of it on the whole.
Mm-hmm. And I've lost my train of thought. I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Easily done.
A question came in.
Well.
Okay, fine. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. This question from Vinifer Karbari.
Okay.
Who's saying, I've already signed up and participated in the first day of the course, but could you please explain how social learning, the method of learning of this course works? It's part of what you were talking about there, how it's really about, you know, joining in these discussions and
That's right. Yeah.
creating a kind of network. So for someone like Vinifer, who's maybe the first time to do this,
Yeah.
what would you recommend as the best way to approach the course?
Again, yeah, do all the steps, make sure you complete all the, press the button that you've completed it, but yeah, engage in the chat. I mean, any sort of distance learning, when I did my master's distance learning, it is quite a lonely, solitary affair in many ways. But the good thing about this course is that there is that opportunity to have there's a lot of chat, there's a lot of discussion, and that's how to do it. I mean, maybe look at all the different tasks. Look at all the different comments that are on the steps. Maybe there are some that interest you more. Try and start a conversation with those people about the issues, of course. So.
I think what you just mentioned there is a really good point, because I've been involved in online learning for almost 20 years now, and it is very different. This kind of is more. It's like a cross between online learning and kind of social media in a way, because you have the likes, the follows, the discussions,
definitely,
and so on. I mean,
instead of getting sorry.
No, that's fine.
Instead of getting a sore throat from talking, you get that sore fingers from typing all the time. Something in my job now, everything's online. It's like sometimes I don't want to type anymore. I want to talk to people, whereas before I'd prefer to email. So there's a bit of change there. Especially a lot of people. This is the first time this is happening, and in the current climate, it's just it's something that's coming in the future more as well, I think. So, but again, by maximum engagement, you'll get maximum benefit from it, I think.
So it's available now, and it's open now. How long is it available for? When can people join?
Open until September the 13th. Okay. But again, the best time to do it is in these 4 weeks, because that's when the facilitators, the mentors and educators are on it. But you can be doing it until September the 13th. So some people join, after it's finished, from our perspective as an educator and a mentor. But yeah, it's running all the way till September 13th, which is a long time. Okay. 2.5 months, right?
Yeah. I mean, so plenty and perfect kind of time just now as well in preparation for this.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we've talked about kind of how it works. We've talked about the fact that it's free. I mean, who it's for, obviously. I mean, it's aimed for people who are starting, preparing to study and live in the UK.
Yeah.
Would it be useful for anyone who's perhaps already there as well?
I would say so. I mean, we're actually recommending it to our current pre-sessional students that we have that have come here, who are, they're in Britain already, or some of them not actually, because of what's happening at the moment. They could be here, or they may be about to come in September. But we're actually recommending it to those, even though they're studying a pre-sessional course, i.e., which is a course similar to this, with lots of English input and lots of academic skills work going on. We still recommend that they come on and have a look at this one. Because it's, for those who are coping very well, it's a little something extra. So yeah, definitely it's open for anybody, really.
Okay, great. I mean, it sounds fantastic. I mean, as you mentioned, it's free for everyone. It's available until September. It includes, as you mentioned, a certificate at the end. It's full of basically all the useful information, all the essential information that you would recommend somebody to prepare themselves for before going to study and live in the UK. So anyone who's watching who hasn't signed up yet, then there's no excuse.
Definitely. I mean, I was going to say a bit more about the certificate. Should I do that?
Please.
We got time?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically, in many FutureLearn courses, I think most, you have to pay and you have an upgrade and you get things, but the learners on this course to get a free FutureLearn upgrade. So they have unlimited access to this course, of course, and a free digital certificate if they, checking the number, if they complete 90% of the course. So it's very, very important to press that little pink button on the bottom of every step to show you've completed it. And it's something I do when I'm going through, because I like to see where I am with it as well. There's a pink button on the bottom of every step, at the bottom of every quiz, and the quizzes are important too to complete, because they count as part of that engagement. But once you've completed 90% of it, then you're eligible for that free certificate at the end. And whilst it's not in any way accredited or a qualification or anything, it's showing you've got a certificate for something like this is a good thing for your CV or resume, and it shows that you've been actively engaged with a course and is trying to prepare yourself for something that you're moving on to, or better yourself. So it's very useful. But there is a specific page for how to track your progress. I can post that, or we can post that later.
Yeah, we can post that.
And also, okay, we'll do that. And there's also one of the steps, I think step 1.3 is the one where you can see how to get your certificate, but we'll post that as well. But it's within the course.
Great. Yeah, I mean, as you say, I mean, it can only look good. It can only, be a benefit if you show that you're proactive and that you've really taken in that extra effort to really, prepare for everything. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything for just now.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds great. I hope people that are watching who have not yet signed up will sign up for the course now. And how's it going so far?
There's a good number of people. I'm not sure if I should say the number, but there's a good number of people, more than we've had before. I don't know the rules for that myself, but yeah, there's some great posts going on. Want to get more going on, of course. I haven't looked today because I was preparing for this, but yesterday it was a very good start. It started yesterday. Lots of people involved, so yeah, good numbers so far.
Very much. I mean, that's great, and it really does sound like a great opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great way it's a good bridge before you get here, and you can learn lots of things that will be very, very useful when you get here. So definitely, engage with it fully.
Just as a little endorsement here from Cristiana Ribeiro.
Oh, yes.
I love taking FutureLearn courses. I've taken quite a few. So
lovely.
Okay, that's great. And hopefully, I don't know if you're on this course, Christiana, but I'm sure we'll see you in some others or on this one in the future. Okay, thanks a lot. It's been really, really useful, and it does sound fantastic. Good luck with the rest of the course. I hope it keeps going.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again in future for this.
Yep. Okay, I think we've got another one running in November, haven't we?
November, okay.
Yeah, so that's good. Okay, so come again.
I'm going to say bye to everybody now. If you've got any final words you'd like to say just before we say goodbye.
No, like I say, just engage as much as you can with it. It's a great bridge to your studies here.
Okay. And that's all for now. I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. We've had lots of great information from all our guests, and thank you to everyone who's come along for this, and thank you for all your great questions. And we'll see you the next time we hold one of these. But bye for now.
Bye.